Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the things that I have learned along the way throughout my own anxiety journey over the last 15 years that has helped me to understand anxiety, which then helped me to go on to rewire it. I am sitting in the same position. For some reason, I like being on the floor. I don't know why, it's just comfy here. And it just feels like I'm really chatting to you guys. So let me introduce myself. I always forget this part. My name is Ashley and I am a mindset coach. I help people to conquer their anxiety, so rewire it instead of just managing it. Over the last 15 years, I had anxiety and I ended up just managing it with breathing techniques, rescue remedy, all the things that we know, right? Actually, rewiring the subconscious is going to change your life, and it changed mine. So I no longer have to manage, I rewire, and this is what I help other people do as well with my one-to-one coaching. But let's get into the core stuff of it. The stuff that I actually learned throughout my journey that helped me to understand anxiety so much more. Number one, let's talk about the nervous system. When we talk about anxiety or panic attacks, this is your body going into fight or flight mode. Your body is sensing danger and is trying to keep you safe, because at one point you learned that this situation that you're in is not safe, and that can come from many different situations, which I will go through in a minute. But I want to talk about the reason why we have that fight or flight mode. And if we go back, we rewind to caveman times. The human body was created to keep you safe, okay? So when we were in caveman times and there was a lion that was hunting us because we were the lion's prey, the reason why we have anxiety, panic, is so that we can run away. The human brain and the human body is incredibly clever, and your nervous system responds to the threat, and the threat being a lion. Now, if we fast forward to this day and age, we no longer have lions coming for us. We have different situations where that nervous system fight or flight response is used. And this was always fascinating to me, because then when I'm in a situation where that anxiety, that panic comes on, I can really say to myself, well, what am I fearing? What is the learned behaviour here that my nervous system wants to respond to fear? So if we think about situations that bring us on anxiety, it could be going to the supermarket, it could be driving on the motorway, it could be being in social settings. At some point, you will have been in a situation where that first happened and it felt unsafe. And it could be that you had a panic attack in the supermarket. It could be that you were in a social situation and someone made you feel really uncomfortable, really unsafe. Maybe someone bullied you, maybe someone was horrible, maybe someone made you feel really unworthy. It can be so many vast different situations, but your body in that moment and in that decision learned that that situation wasn't safe. It can even stem right back to childhood. If someone in a social setting at school made you feel uncomfortable, bullied you, made you feel sad, that is a learned behaviour that being in social settings, being around a lot of people, that thing is going to happen again. You learned in that situation that was unsafe. Whatever the situation was, whatever the belief was, you learned that it was unsafe. So your nervous system is literally just trying to keep you safe from feeling that fear again. So it's different from the lion. It's different nowadays. We don't have to worry about lions, but we do have to worry about these situations that cause the nervous system that fight or flight. I do in my one-to-one coaching is we actually go back to the belief system that was created and what is behind that to rewire, so that in those situations, you no longer have to have the fear or the anxiety. Number two is something that's called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity, when we talk about that, is the brain, and it's honestly fascinating. I promise you, I'm not going to go into too much of a science lesson right now, but the brain is so much like a muscle in your body. The more we exercise different muscles, the stronger they become. And it's the same with emotions, which I found absolutely fascinating. If you're someone who has suffered with anxiety, and if you have, you're probably watching this video, when we have anxiety, the more we feel it, the more comfortable the brain gets with feeling that emotion. So you're probably wondering why you always feel anxiety, and maybe you don't feel as much happiness, or maybe you don't feel as much joy, or maybe you don't feel as much calmness. The brain gets very, very used to feeling or doing a certain thing. It's the same with your muscle. If you keep moving and doing a bicep curl at the gym, your muscle will get stronger, and it's the same with your brain. The more you feel anxiety, the stronger your brain gets at feeling that emotion. And we also have this thing called use it or lose it. And they talk about this a lot when it comes to dementia or when you get older. If you don't use a certain part of the body or your brain, it goes into a place where the brain no longer thinks that that part is important. Say, for example, as you get older, you don't move as much. Okay, maybe you've got an injury and you start to lose your mobility. The longer that you don't use that, your brain will start to see it as not an important thing to use. It starts to put that information to the side. So it no longer uses that information that it takes to move your body, so you get less mobile. And it's the same with our emotions. if you don't experience happiness or you don't experience joy, calmness, all of these different emotions that maybe you want to feel, but anxiety is taking over, all we have to do is go in to rewire it and feel those emotions more often. Feel less of the anxiety, more of the emotion, the happiness, the joy, whatever it is that you want to feel, and we get your brain to feel comfortable in that place. And that sounds really simple in a way and almost like, well, why am I not doing that? But that's because your brain is so used to the anxiety and feeling that in those different situations. With our one-to-one clients, I actually use a method called anchoring, which is where we go into a moment or a memory where you have felt confident, happy, or whatever emotion that you want to feel. And we use that every day, just like a gym routine. And this is what I find fascinating. Use it as a gym routine. Every morning you feel and you go into that memory, you feel that emotion, and the more you do that, the more your brain gets used to feeling that emotion. And that to me is just mind-blowing, because if I had had that information when I was younger, when I was first experienced anxiety, I could have really taken over that quite quickly. Crazy stuff. So number 3, which kind of rolls on to what I was just talking about, but anxiety is actually an emotion. Now, I was always taught that when I went to my GP, when I spoke to people about my anxiety, that I had a disorder, that there was something wrong with me. But not one single person said to me that anxiety was an emotion, and not one single person told me or taught me how to regulate my emotions. In today's society, emotional regulation isn't something, and maybe not in today's society, but more when I was younger, it's not something that was actively talked about. So being able to regulate and process our emotions was not something that we did. But actually, anxiety is an emotion. And when we look at why those emotions are coming in and what's happening and actually regulate and process it, you can start to actually feel better and have less anxiety. One of the things that I go through in my one-to-one coaching is teaching clients how to emotionally regulate and process their emotions. Because a lot of the time when we get heightened anxiety, overwhelming anxiety attacks, panic attacks, it's normally a build-up of emotions that haven't been regulated. When you learn how to regulate your emotions, you have less overwhelming ones, which means less anxiety, less panic. Number 4 is limiting beliefs. I talked a little bit about this in number 1, but beliefs create our reality. So when we were younger, if we've been in a situation where you've created a belief of, if I show my true self, that makes me vulnerable, it makes me sad, people make fun of me. Maybe for example, someone has said to you, they've made fun of you for being yourself, you've been really open, you've been dancing, and someone's taken the mick out of you for that. You will then learn in that moment that being yourself is not great and you need to hide away. There's so many beliefs that we can create in such a younger years, and a lot of it can be at school, a lot of it can be in your childhood, and we create these limiting beliefs. Those limiting beliefs then create how we act and how we behave in everyday life now, and we don't even realize it. These limiting beliefs create your thoughts because they're in the subconscious brain. They create your thoughts. The thoughts then create your emotions, and your emotions then create your behaviors. And that's how the brain really works. And what we do in the one-to-one coaching is we actually go into that subconscious brain, find the beliefs, rewire them so we can have different thoughts, so we can have different emotions, so we can have different behaviors. When we actually find the limiting beliefs, go into them, rewire them, everything changes. So we've talked about the nervous system, so fight or flight, why that is there. We've talked about neuroplasticity, how important that is for understanding our emotions. We've talked about processing emotions, how important that is for anxiety as well. And then we've talked about limited belief. All of these things were things that have changed my life and actually helped me to rewire my anxiety and not just manage. Because when we just manage our anxiety with breathing techniques, with rescue remedy, all we're doing is surface level stuff. It doesn't actually go deeper and help us to make huge changes. It just kind of manages what we're experiencing. A few things that I want you to go away from this video today and do that will actually help your anxiety is 1, I want you to question your anxiety. What is it that you're scared of in those moments of anxiety and panic that is causing your nervous system to be in fight or flight? Number 2 is I want you to start really spending time in other emotions. And if you need to go into older memories to feel them emotions like happiness, confidence, joy, whatever you need to do to go into more of that so your neuroplasticity can grow that emotion, then do it. 3, start to learn how to process your emotions. Not just your anxiety, not just your panic, but daily emotions that might seem really small. Learn to process them. Learn to look in at what that emotion is telling you. And number 4, figure out your limiting beliefs, because once you figure those out and you rewire them, everything changes. I really hope this video has been useful. All of these things actually changed so much of my life and my anxiety, and I want them to be able to help you today. If you have found it useful or you want to know anything else, please just comment below the video, because I will always happily go into more detail if you have any more questions. And if you want to work with me one-to-one, or you want to find out more information on that, just pop a comment below or pop me a message on Instagram or any other platform, and I'll happily chat to you about what I can help you with.